Joe Biden pardoning his son Hunter, and Hunter Biden now off the hook for tax evasion charges, for gun charges, and for anything else that he might possibly have ever done. Never forget, Thanksgiving dinner is a blessing, even if your son is a crack-smoking dummy. Not that Lamont would smoke crack, but Biden and son, Joe is cleaning it up for his boy. And interestingly enough, the pardon, if you look at the language here, dates back. He's been pardoned for those offenses against the United States which he has committed or may have committed or taken part in during the period from January 1st, 2014 through December 1st, 2024. That is almost 11 full years. 11 full years of anything he did in that time period is just okay. Now, that timing of January 1st, 2014 is interesting if you've been paying attention, because it was in April of 2014 that Hunter Biden began his involvement with Burisma, the Ukrainian energy corporation. And so we have heard so much about the possibility of influence peddling, of the millions of dollars that Hunter Biden made in his dealings with Burisma, and Joe Biden going back and pardoning him for anything that he may have done. This isn't specifically for the tax charges and the gun charges that he's awaiting sentencing on. This is anything at all that he might have done. Wink. Not that Joe would know. Would he? 11 years. So we shall see what happens here. But a lot of people are up in arms about that, as you might imagine. The White House statement coming out, and it contradicts directly what Joe Biden himself said at the G7 summit in Italy back in June of this year. Let's take a look at what Joe Biden said he was going to do.
With regard to the question regarding the family, I'm extremely proud of my son Hunter. He has overcome an addiction. He's one of the brightest, most decent men I know, and I am satisfied that I'm not going to do anything. I said I abide by the jury decision, and I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
I'll abide by the jury's decision. I won't do anything. Those are the words from Joe Biden himself. Remember, Joe character is on the ballot. Biden, straight shooting, good old grandfatherly Uncle Joe. So what if he sniffs your cousin's neck at Thanksgiving? He's just a warm, grandfatherly man who always tells the truth, unlike that scoundrel Donald Trump. But, on second thought, Hunter gets a free pass. Charged with failing to pay over $1 million in taxes, by the way. Just so we're clear. He wasn't off by $40. He doesn't owe the government $310. Over $1 million in taxes he didn't pay, but hey, it's all right. You're my kid. So Hunter Biden is off the hook, and Joe Biden can now dodder off into the sunset, confident in the fact that he has protected his son from justice. And pardon me, if you will, while I reflect with sadness on every life choice I've ever made that has led to me not wearing this Tampa Bay Buccaneers hat right now. Look at that sweet bastard. Would you? Why don't I have one of those? Just look at that. Would you? Pardon me, Joe Biden. Karine Jean-Pierre. She's been carrying the toilet water for the Biden administration for a long time now, telling us all the things that we shouldn't be worried about, telling us all the things that don't believe your eyes and ears and the things that you see. You're detached from reality, is what I've heard from her so many times. Let's go back, a little flashback. Let's go into the Ricky Cobb Show time machine and see what she had to say about whether or not Hunter Biden would face charges.
The president would not pardon or commute sentences for his son, Hunter. I just want to make sure that that is not going to change over the next 6 months. The president's saying he would not.
It's still a no. It's still a
It
no.
will always be a no.
It's still a no. It will be a no. It is a no, and I don't have anything else to add. Will he pardon his son? No.
What did she say?
No.
Did she say no? Oh, was that a no? That she said, well, it turns out it was a yes. It was a big fat yes. And it's a big fat yes that goes back to January the 1st, 2014. Joe Biden didn't tell the truth. I thought that it was only Donald Trump that told lies. That's what I've been led to believe by the mainstream media for so long now. I thought Trump was the liar. I thought Joe Biden was just out there just reporting the truth in all things. Man of impeccable character and integrity who would never let his son off the hook for crimes that he committed against the United States of America. Over $1 million in taxes. Can you imagine what would happen to you or me if we didn't pay over $1 million in taxes? Shit. Are you kidding me? How about this? Here's another. Pardon me. Can I get a pardon? Can you tell me what time it is? That's what time it is, honey. It's time for you to get out of my face. It's time for you to come back to my hotel room there. I don't know. Blow in her face and she'll follow you anywhere. It's what they said back in the day. Do you remember Joe Biden coming out with, he was pitching this thing called the No One Above the Law Amendment. Just like in July. Do we have this? Where Joe Biden is coming out saying just a few short months ago that nobody is above the law. Look at this. This tweet is from July of this year. In the face of increasing threats to America's democratic institutions, I'm calling for 3 bold reforms. He goes on, of course, he's wanting to do Supreme Court term limits too, because he didn't like the fairly constitutionally decided composition of the Supreme Court, so he wanted to change it. But that's not a radical anti-democratic thing to do at all, right? Because he would never do that. But he called for the No One is Above the Law amendment to make clear that there is no immunity for crimes that a former president committed while in office, because Joe Biden shared the founders' belief that a president's power is limited, not absolute. We're a nation of laws, not of kings or dictators. That was at the end of July, and now here we are. Except for my boy. My boy, all right, he forgot to pay over $1 million in taxes. He's walking around with a gun that he owns illegally. He's doing God knows what. How much money do you think he made from his connection with Ukraine and Burisma? Isn't it interesting that this kicks in on January the 1st, 2014? Just in case, I don't know. My boy's one of the best men I've ever met. He's a fine and decent man. He's a great man. Impeccable morals. But just in case he did anything, I don't know, let's go back 10 years and 11 months to just a few months before he got involved here in Ukraine. He's good for anything back until then that might surface. Yeah, that's a bunch of bullshit. It's always been bullshit. Reminds me of this video. Here's a little viral moment for you, a callback to something that some of you might remember. Look at this. This is the media. Wait a minute. Mom, oh dear. Get the camera off Mom. This is why we can't take her anywhere. Can't take her. That's the fun mom. Right? Oh, God, Tim. For God's sake, Tim, we don't need to watch it on a loop. That's the footage. That's the, some might say that is footage of the mainstream media covering the Biden-Harris administration over the course of these past nearly 4 years. They got some pretty nice treatment. And over on X, Elon Musk is commenting about a community note that Joe Biden has received after issuing the pardon to his son Hunter. Joe Biden, this is from May, just all the things that Joe Biden has said. No one is above the law, And we have a helpful community note here that says, by pardoning his son Hunter, not merely for a single crime, but for all actual or even potential crimes he may or may not have committed. Over the course of an 11-year period, Joe Biden has made it clear that some people are, in fact, above the law. Where's my pardon? I'm going to bring in the international streaming star from Nashville, Tennessee, Ronnie T-shirts. And I don't know, Ronnie, is there anybody that you'd like to pardon? If you had the ability to issue one pardon, is there anybody out there that you would like to protect, Ron?
I mean, you just put me on the spot. Like, this is not where I thought I'd be going right now. Can I plead the
you
fifth?
always complain that I say what you were going to say. How about Ryan Day? Does he get a pardon?
Hell no.
What's his status?
Hell no.
Remember a week ago when we about came to blows because I criticized Ryan Day?
Well, I
don't know.
still
Are you
fight you
feeling
over
like
that.
defending him as much right now?
Oh, I'll still fight you over that.
63-10. 63-10. 40% of his losses have come to Michigan, which, in fairness to him, his record, other than not being able to beat Michigan for some reason, his record has been great. But, dude, y'all haven't beaten Michigan this decade now. Where do you come down when you weigh the fact that by every other measure, Ryan Day has been an excellent coach, but the game that you must win, the thing that matters more than anything other than a national championship, he has been a colossal failure. How do you weigh it, Ron?
I mean, you asked me this question Wednesday about Mike McCarthy, and I'll probably need to give you the same answer. As my immediate reaction, my emotional reaction in the stadium on Saturday was fire him. But who are we going to find out there that's better than him right now? And I just really feel like college football fans, myself included, we need to take a step back and we need to start looking at college football through the same lens that we look at pro football. And that is, as much as I hate Michigan and I want to beat Michigan, beating Michigan is not the end all. I mean, could you imagine, Ricky, that if, let's just say, the Eagles won the Super Bowl and during the year that they won the Super Bowl, they lost to the Cowboys or the Redskins? Nobody would say, ha, 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 you won the Super Bowl, but you lost to your heated rival, the Cowboys. So it sucks losing to Michigan. It really, really does, especially for the fourth time in a row. But the most important thing to me, and I think the most important thing to most rational Ohio State fans, is we want to win a national title. And we still have that ability to win a national title. And that's the lens that we have to start looking at this through, is, did you accomplish that goal? And I think this is probably going to be true with a lot of college rivalries, is they're going to kind of lose their luster, and they're not going to, right now it's still fresh of how things used to be, and we're in this transition. But there's going to come a point where I think maybe that rivalry between Alabama and Auburn and Ohio State and Michigan and Texas A&M and all these, these rivalries, I just think they're going to kind of lose their importance over time, because it's not what ultimately matters. And we now have to start looking at college football like we look at pro football.
Rivalry games are great and they're important and they're good for the sport and all of that. But at the end of the day, the national championship is what matters. So I do agree with you, Ron. Maybe the problem, Ron, is like the planting of flags and shit. Are we going to do something about this? It just seems like, did you see this week? Can we get it up on the screen? There were a lot of dust-ups around college football. And I think we have some of the footage, if we can get it up, Ron. And while let's take a look here. It's not just in Columbus, but look at that.
Raleigh,
there's the flag being planted. There goes the trident into the end zone. There's Michigan, of course. this looks to me like, he's like, hey, bro, give me my trident back. That's not cool.
Don't take
You
another
can't take
man's
another
trident.
man's trident. Yeah, I think we can all agree that's a party foul. But you look here, I don't know, man. Like, maybe we just need to stop sticking things in the field. Would that help? What's going on with this? Because we've had upsets since the beginning of time, but I don't really recall as many post-game incidents as it seems like we're kind of starting to see.
I mean, isn't it like everything else? I mean, Baker Mayfield is the first one I remember doing this, and he unfortunately did it in Columbus after they beat Ohio State. But isn't this like everything else that kind of becomes trendy? Like, after somebody would get a turnover, there was a turnover chain, and then there was a turnover chainsaw and a turnover hammer and a turnover whatever. And so that just became the thing. And so, I mean, these kids they see it happen other places, and they're like, oh, well, we're going to do it too. I mean, I personally, and I thought a lot about this, Ricky, is I think being 58 years old really changes how I feel about this, because I just look at things very differently than I did when I was, 25 years old or 20 years old. Is I just say, well, there's a super easy way for that not to happen. Is that just win the game? I personally, I don't like seeing Michigan plant the flag there, because it represents the fact that they just beat us. But if they want to plant the flag, they won. Go ahead and do it. Like, if people, again, me, I'm a big market speaks guy, right? If everybody thinks you look dumb for planting a flag, well, eventually people will stop planting the flag. But I don't know. Like, I kind of don't understand. I mean, I understand why Ohio State reacted the way it did, their players did, but I think the best way, and again, this is an old guy speaking, right, is just ignore them. Let them show a lack of class. And that's what everybody will remember, is just that. But now it's everything else. It's the Ohio State players bum rushing them at the logo. It's the mace. It's the pepper spray. It's everything. So I don't know, Ricky. I say do it if you want to. I wouldn't do it, but again, I'm old, and I see things differently than a testosterone-filled 22-year-old.
Ronnie, your boy Kirk Herbstreit has weighed in on it. If we can take a look at what he has to say on the matter. You can see here Herbstreit saying, I think any conference commissioner who had a team or teams involved in the post-game fights, and he's referencing obviously more than just the Michigan-Ohio State game, he thinks that the sport of college football really, it's time for those guys to be, suspended, set down, miss a playoff game, miss a bowl game, face some sort of consequence for your actions. Where do you come down on that, Ron? I mean, do you think we need to see suspensions for the players that escalated the situation?
So I guess is like, do we count the guy that got the Michigan flag and tried to plant the flag, which is I always find funny when you try to do it at Ohio Stadium, is, that's turf, right? Like, that flag won't go down in the grass there. So it's always kind of funny. But should that guy who did the original, is that what Kirk is saying? He should be suspended, because now we're starting to like where do we draw the line? Like, taunting, is that okay? Like, I don't know. I think common sense should prevail, because the second you put a rule down, now it's open for interpretation, and God knows where that will take us.
Yeah, I think you just got, let them plant the flag. It's not the end of the world, right?
No, it's not. Mean, you lost, man.
And it's like,
freaking win the game.
Yeah. And that's where I give you credit, Ron, is like, you're not like a sensitive person about sports, and
no.
You call it that way, whether it's your team that's winning or your team that's losing. And Ohio State got beat. Michigan had a right to be excited. If that's a thing that is done now, then hey, whatever. It's not like they conquered your fucking city. They're still going to have to go home. You know what I mean? It ain't that much different than Steph Curry hitting a game-ending 3 and then doing the sleep thing on his cheek. It's just a celebration. It's for it to end up being grown men, even albeit young grown men, out there fighting over a flag. It's just not a good look for anybody.
Well, Ricky, I'll tell you what, I'll say this to the Ohio State players. I'll say it to the Florida State players. I'll say it to the Arizona players is I would have loved to seen all of you play with that much passion and aggression during the game as you did when somebody, defaced your logo or whatever. It's like, come on. It's like, who cares? Like literally who cares? It doesn't matter. And then just to see our players react that way, my immediate thought was, where was this during the game? Like this is where the line was drawn. Losing wasn't where the line was drawn, but planting a flag on our logo, that's where the line was drawn. And that just, I don't know. I don't like it, Ricky.
Yeah. Find that energy at kickoff, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the time. Well, maybe if Ohio State had played with the same degree of urgency that California's Attorney General has for gender-neutral clothing being in every store, Brian.
Nice.
You guys probably
dude.
would have snapped that lucid streak. The California Attorney General is encouraging shoppers to snitch on stores if they don't have gender-neutral children's clothing on sale, because it's a fine, apparently, for merchants in California to not do this because California. So he's basically telling the shoppers to out the businesses that aren't catering to gender-neutral clothing laws. What is the Democrats' obsession with gender? When did they decide that gender was the most important fucking thing in the world? And why would the state of California possibly have a compelling interest in whether Walmart or Target or anywhere else has gender-neutral children's clothing for sale? What the fuck are we even doing anymore?
But just remember, you can steal up to $925 worth of merchandise and you'll be okay. So
I don't know what when does Prop 36 go into effect? Now's your time to shoplift. Get out there and like supermarket sweep and just go to town on everything until Prop 36 goes into law, Ron.
Could you imagine how pathetic of a human being you must be to walk into a store and do an inventory of gender neutral? What the hell? What is gender neutral? That's a whole nother topic of conversation, Ricky, because so that's saying that, well, my daughter likes football. So that football, is that gender neutral? Or is that for boys? Like they're so hypocritical about everything.
The concept of gender, I developed the sex and gender class at my old community college. The concept, I taught sex and gender for, Ron, 15 years. I taught this class. I have come to the conclusion that we would be better off without the concept of gender whatsoever. This was created by a psychologist named John Money. And and look at what has happened. Our entire society has become a slave to this concept of gender, which is initially in the old days, it was just the idea like a gender norm, right? Like boys don't cry, but girls wear dresses. Girls can wear makeup, but boys don't. Whatever. That gender was just sort of the social expectations that culturally went along with being male or female. Now it has become so much more than that, and it's being used as a blunt force instrument by the government to keep people in line. And I think that we are well past the fucking point of ridiculousness. California, I've always loved California, Ron. It's my favorite state in the United States to visit, but at least it used to be. They have just gone fucking insane, man. And all you need to know about the importance of Donald Trump winning this election is look at California and decide if you want an America that is just a big California.
Yep.
And if that doesn't look good to you, then be glad that you didn't vote for Kamala Harris, because California is a real good picture of where this country
that's a gender neutral toy right there.
Could be headed. Yeah. I don't know if that box, those kids are going to get fined if that box residence is found not to have gender neutral restrooms, Ron. The state of California, I believe, has warned Toby and Mary there that they could be fined up to $500 for not providing an inclusive box environment. When I was a kid, boxes were more fun than at least 75% of my actual toys. Ron, you'd unbox the toy, and the biggest value the toy had was just getting it out of the fucking way so you could play with the box. That's what I say, Ronnie.
We got a big screen TV back when they were just these monster things. They had the kind of the projection behind them, and I turned it into a little house for Tyler. And I cannot tell you how many hours she spent inside that cardboard box. Like, it was her favorite thing. God knows how much money we spent on other things for her, and that was her sanctuary. She loved it.
Ron, I got to tell you that the toughest thing about being a box homeowner is rain. Those kids out on the deck, like whenever it rains, it's not a good situation.
Well, hers was inside. Hers was inside her playroom.
Yeah.
Hers was inside her playroom.
That's a much better way to do it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. If you have the outdoor box, it's first time it rains, your fun is over. Ron, I think now is a good time for us to go to America's Poll of the Day. Shall we? Over at Super 70 Sports on X. And Ron, I'm a little excited. I'm not going to lie to you. I have not seen the results of this poll, but I got a text from my good buddy Matt down in Texas this morning. And Matt, I didn't reply to your text. I was neck deep in show prep, Matty. But he sent me a text that indicated to me that I may be fairly close to the pin today. So I'm pretty excited. As we say on this program, the goal, the elusive goal, perhaps the impossible dream, is a quadruple 25, trying to come as close as you can to a four-way tie. We've never done it. There's only so close you can probably get realistically, but I am told this may be my best poll ever. At least that's what I heard about an hour ago, Ronnie. Your options today: paper football. And I assume that people understand what that means, at least people of a certain age. That is the triangular football that you make and that you slide back and forth across a level surface, trying to get part of it to hang off the edge without falling off completely. And then, of course, as you were indicating, Ronnie, the best part of scoring a touchdown is you get to attempt that extra point and try to put your friend's eye out. So paper football is pretty great. Captain Crunch is next. I don't think that there's any explanation necessary there. The captain is out there harvesting crunch berries, and I've always suspected doing some type of human trafficking, probably. Red Fox, the great legendary, we saw him at the top of this program with his son, the dummy. And then the Hartford Whalers, my all-time favorite NHL franchise, Super Sky Point. I'm so broken up I can't even speak. So Ronnie, here are the four choices. Give me your pick and tell me who you think is going to win.
Paper football was a staple, and gosh, through high school, I guess, but mostly it felt elementary, middle school. Captain Crunch, is that the entire franchise or just berries? Like, is peanut butter involved?
I'm going to give you. Yeah, I'm going to give you everything that he's involved with.
Okay. All right.
There.
Red Fox, when we did the whole comedy picks the other day, Red Fox, have you ever seen Red Fox's stand-up?
Yeah, it's filthy.
It's filthy and amazing. Like, it's so good. Hartford Whalers goes without saying. I actually picked paper football, and I did it so early that I didn't see the results either. So, I mean, I'd be dumb to guess at this point after you kind of gave a hint that it's going to be really close. So, Cap and Crunch, I think, might eke out. Cap and Crunch or paper football, I think, will eke out a victory. But I went paper football.
I'm going to go with the Hartford Whalers. Paper football is hard for me to pick over because just talking about it has me wanting to play right now. Paper football still sounds good, and we absolutely played it in high school. It never gets old. I'm 53 years old. I'll play a game with you right now, Ronnie, if we were in the same location. But I'll go with the Hartford Whalers. Tim, light that candle, my friend, and let's see what the choice is here today. Producer Tim, doing as he does. Look at that, Ron.
Dude.
I may have painted my masterpiece.
Oh, Red Fox is winning.
Red Fox is winning. And look at, listen, I'm the winner of today's poll. With apologies to Red Fox. Look at this. There it is. There it is. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to everyone. I appreciate it. I'm just a man. I'm still just a man. I'd like to thank myself. I'd like to thank Ronnie. I'd like to thank Jared. I'd like to thank Tim. I'd like to thank Molly and Brooke and Colin. I'd like to thank Gary Schreier. I'd like to thank Clay Travis. I'd like to thank Aaron Spielberg. Wouldn't be possible without any of them.
This is amazing.
It's just an unbelievable moment for me. Thank you. Thank you so much. I couldn't have done it without all of you, the support of my sweet bastard fan base. It's a great feeling. It's a much better feeling than your ass getting fired the day after you make perhaps the stupidest coaching blunder that anybody's ever seen. Ronnie, I speak, of course, of former, thank God, hallelujah, praise Jesus, and past the Tylenol. Matt Eberflus is gone. The Eberflus era ending in a wasted 36 seconds that left everybody watching on Thanksgiving baffled, including Hall of Fame coach Jimmy Johnson.
In 70 years of coaching at all three levels, I've never seen dysfunction that cost a team an opportunity to win the game. Wow. Obviously, he's got a rookie quarterback, and different teams do it a different way. I handle clock management and timeouts. Sometimes the quarterback and the coach does it. Sometimes the coach has a coach in the box talking to him about clock management. But when Eberflus saw that they were off track and there was dysfunction, he should have called timeout. He says he wanted to communicate to the rookie quarterback the throw and out route, stop the clock, then call the timeout.
They did not throw
That was never communicated.
The communication was off.
Regardless of what the chain of command was, Eberflus has the ability to say, call timeout.
Call timeout.
You know, what a turn the season has taken for the Chicago Bears. Remember when they were 4-2 and Jaden Daniels was just throwing up a prayer down the field? The Bears had a 99% chance of winning that game and being 5-2. And instead, Tyreek Stevenson is taunting the Washington fans, runs over, gets there, tips the ball up in the air. Washington catches it in the end zone. The Bears have not won since. Maybe it's all worth it if this means that we don't have to continue pretending that Matt Eberflus is an NFL head coach.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe it's time to thank Stevenson for what he did. Like, he was the catalyst for all of this, right? First time in Bears history that they fire a coach in the middle of the season. So was that 105 years and they'd never done that before?
Yeah, Matt Eberflus making history. Let's take a look at my tweet. I sent a little tweet out ahead of him getting fired on Friday. This tweet I sent on Thursday night, Thanksgiving night. I said, Matt Eberflus is the most incompetent motherfucker on the face of the planet. I don't know, Ron. I'm setting the fence here. Just let me coach the fucking team. I'm over it. Bears fans are great fans and deserve better than the steaming pile of shit we're expected to excuse every year and pretend is in any way acceptable. And the next day, Matt Eberflus loses his job. They didn't hire me, however, but I'll take it and consider it to be a win for the entire city of Chicago. Oh my God. Oh my God. Look at this. I don't know. Tim,
I'm looking closer now. I'm looking closer now.
Tim with the surprise there. Well, I'll tell you what, that is a popular one in Washington this year. No doubt. Good. Thank God Tyreek got there just in time to completely fuck up Matt Eberflus's life. Dude, 36 seconds left and a timeout, and you run one play that is an incomplete pass. It doesn't even seem like that is a thing that could happen. Jimmy Johnson saying in 70 years, he's never seen anything like that before. It's unbelievable to me that that could happen at the NFL level, and yet we saw it happen. How you turn that situation into that is going to stand the test of time as one of the dumbest things that has ever happened at the NFL level, or maybe any other level, in terms of a coaching decision. It is literally the definition of a fireable offense. And I'm glad that they did it, Ronnie. I'm glad that they did it. Did you see Trevor Lawrence took a hard hit, a dirty hit from Houston Texans linebacker Aziz Al-Shaair. And he went into that fencing posture, Ronnie, that we see from Tua.
Yep.
On a couple of the really nasty hits that Tua has taken. And a big part of why a lot of people were saying that Tua should consider retiring from the league. Lawrence was attempting to slide. He was in the process of sliding, and he just got teed up by Al-Shaair. Ronnie, what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, there's times when I'm watching games and I understand that we all don't understand how fast everything is moving, and that, you know, sometimes a player's gone into like, I'm going to tackle you mode before he sees the guy give himself up. But this one felt like it was pretty egregious. Like, Lawrence was clearly not running like a regular runner, and he just lit his ass up. I mean, and it was high. It was like a car crash, Ricky.
Yeah, it was like a car crash, and I think NFL players know how to handle that play professionally. Mm-hmm. He could have made a decision to just go above him. You see it all the time. Yep. And it's a lack. You know, this doesn't go nearly far enough, but at the most basic level, it's a lack of professional courtesy. You're all out there trying to feed your families, playing this violent game. And yes, a lot of the violence has been taken out of it, but the players are bigger, faster, stronger. The collisions and the impacts are so much more damaging now just due to the physics of the game than they were 40 or 50 years ago. And he could have made a very simple decision not to hit him like that. And I think he should be suspended, Ron. Yeah. I think he should absolutely be suspended multiple games, in my opinion, because you took a defenseless guy who was sliding to indicate that and just lit him up and gave him a traumatic brain injury. And there's no reason for it.
Yeah. Could you imagine if football policed itself the way that baseball polices itself? CJ Stroud would have been crapping his pants over on the sideline when he saw that hit, right? He'd be like, oh God, what is going to happen to me?
Yeah, I mean, if it was the old days, there were days in the NFL where I'm quite sure the same sort of stuff happened. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Mm-hmm. So, you know, you hate to fucking see that. You really do. Ronnie, let's take a look at the Atlanta Falcons. You know, you picked against the Falcons this week, wisely so. It looks like their season is starting to fall apart. Ron, Kirk Cousins with 4 interceptions yesterday, including a pick 6. And I got to tell you, it's a far cry from the finest quarterback that I ever saw at the helm of the Atlanta Falcons, Ronnie. And I speak, of course, of Saddam Hussein. Nobody else has ever moved the Atlanta Falcons offense up and down the field like Saddam Hussein. Ron, take a look at him there. Just the run and shoot offense, just daring George W. Bush to do something about it. It was a hell of an era in Atlanta, Ronnie. I think we can all agree. Giving himself number 1 because, of course, that's what Saddam Hussein would do.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me
Hang
of...
on.
What?
Hang on, Ronnie. Ronnie, I'm being told that's supposed to be Jeff George.
Oh.
Sorry. I'm remembering incorrectly. Yes. That's supposed to be Jeff George. But sure as fuck looks like Saddam Hussein to me. But I don't know. Maybe, Ron, maybe it's time for Michael Penix Jr. What do you think? Everybody was shitting on the Falcons when they took... Oh, my God, Ron. Do you remember when the Falcons drafted him? And
Michael
they
Penix?
sent this out? This actually came out from, 8. He's number 8. He was 9. He was 9 in college. He's number 8. He lost a little something there going to the pros. When they measured him at the combine,
Cold.
It was only 8, Ron, but it was cold. It was chilly. But it might be time for Michael Penix.
Some might say,
Junior.
Ricky, some might say that he had winter penis.
Some might say winter penis. There's a public service message from Ronnie T-shirts to all of you as winter approaches. Be aware of the dangers of winter penis. You know, you might not be able to afford to lose much. You know, we're not all porn stars. Ronnie, here's one for you. The great Hulk Hogan. I already told you 3 times there's nobody named Mike Hunt here, brother.
I don't get it. Why is it funny?
Stop it, Ronnie. You probably invented it. You're probably the guy who invented the Mike Hunt thing. I remember I went to school with a kid named AJ Patel years ago, and I said, "Hey, dude, I've got this friend named Mike Hunt." And I said, "He's very hairy. Can you say that?" And AJ's just repeating it 3 or 4 times, and we're all laughing our asses off, and AJ just had no idea why that was funny. And I'm here to tell you that 40 years later, with 2 college degrees, 5 children, my own talk show. What did you say, Ron? It's still funny.
It's still funny.
My
I mean, what
God.
else we got? So we got
It's
Jack
still
Mehoff.
funny.
We have Jack Mehoff. We have Connie
Yeah.
Lingus.
Yes.
What else is there? Amanda Hugginkiss.
Haywood Jablomi
Yep.
is one of my favorite players of that era.
Yes, I love
the Dover siblings, Ben and Eileen, of course. Yeah. And I signed all of them up for free CDs and cassettes at some point. I was getting Mike Hunt and Haywood Jablomi's 13 records for $1 deal from Columbia House, I'm pretty sure, at one time, taking advantage of that. I was signing up every fictional person, real people, pets, the whole thing.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.